Are you living? Seriously. Am I living? Are you living? What do I mean by that? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome back to Angie Thoughts podcast. Episode 2 is Are You Living? That is it. We're just going to delve in deeper and see my thought process about this and see society's thought process and how we can view perspectives and how it is. But yeah, let's carry on. Aimlessly living. Aimlessly living, a disease to our society, our community. What does aimlessly living entail? Doom scrolling on social media for hours, watching reel after reel, TikTok after TikTok, YouTube short after YouTube short, and never remembering why you went on that app in the first place. You're just wasting time, right? You don't know what to do. You have nothing driving you. You're just doing it for the sake of doing it. Same with like things like gaming for long hours, scrolling on Pinterest. What I do. Scrolling on Pinterest, I feel like it's such a weird thing, because scrolling on Pinterest is like I'm envisioning the life I want to have, but at the same time I'm wasting the time I have now. Does that make sense? It's binge watching series, having nothing to do, and I feel like people do this in summer holidays quite a bit. Binge watching series, like you have nothing to do, nothing else, so you end up just binge watching series after series after series. Like you're not engaging with the world around you. Like you avoid educating yourself, improving yourself in different ways. Like education doesn't need to be basic science and math. It means bettering yourself, looking at poetry, philosophy, learning how to cook, improving a life skill, making money, something, anything, playing an instrument, learning how to play one. Aimlessly living, I feel like nowadays is like being chronically online. And it's hard because it's so normal to be chronically online, and I feel like it's kind of to be chronically online, because if you don't know what's going on online, you kind of can't connect with people nowadays, especially people who are younger. Like you have to kind of know what's going on to connect with people. Like, did you see that TikTok? Did you see that reel? Oh my god, bruh. Or you're making a joke and it's like something from a TikTok. Like you feel like you have to know, you have to be online to be, and to know someone. I guess it's easier that way. It's a way to get in, to make relationships and stuff. It's sad. I'm sighing because I'm like, this is so me right now. I'm just describing me. I'm ticking me off. And all this always has been proven to lead into some kind of mental health crisis, because you're not just you're having no sense of purpose. You have no structure in your life. You're lacking structure. You're lacking a purpose, a meaning, or why, and you're just there. Like what life is just passing by, and you cannot even be present in that moment to watch it pass by. You're just there. And the more you think about it, the more you realize, wow, it's hurting, because you miss so many things when you're not aware and present in a situation. And so many people can go by, and so many people can come and go, and because you're just not in the present moment, because you're not just living, you're missing out on so many things, and you're starting to resent yourself for it. And I am too. We're all in the same boat. Like, bro, we just need to get out of it. It's something so current in today's society and so accepted. And you do have people saying, yeah, get offline, go ghost, disappear. But what am I going to do after that? Give me some steps. Give me a way. Something. So, we've talked about aimlessly living, right? What is society's perspective on living. Like, okay, if being chronically in line and not educating, improving yourself and not being physically able, what is living? The opposite, probably, most likely, makes sense. I found that people say that personal fulfillment, so something like having a hobby or activity that brings one satisfaction or joy, that brings one to peace, happiness. Self-improvement, which you mentioned, which is basically just learning new skills, personal growth, learning a language, do something, anything. Or people will say their meaning or their why is their career, having that financial security, which is, that keeps them feel enabled and safe and advancing in their career. Or some people are like, no, education is my favorite. Like, I can't wait to do my master's and my PhD and go into research and learn about new things. I'm always learning. I love learning. This is society's perspective on living. You have also members being like, oh, you know what? Yeah, like my perspective on living is having a relationship with my family, having that communication with friends, and that spirit around the community, neighbors, having that social life. It really what's keeping me going, having that interaction. That what keeps me going. That is my why. This is what I'm doing. And other people would say life experiences, and you can go through the simple mundane life experience, or let me try new things, let me be spontaneous, let me go crazy, I want to go travel the world, I want to do this. Like, that's living. Trying new things, having something to talk about. But when I read more about society's perspective on living, I'll say all in all, it encompasses many things. Like, it contains and brings together many things. But ultimately, the idea of it all, I feel like, is to be finding happiness in one's life that benefits them. Like, it's a very individualistic approach. Like, what makes you happy? And I hate that, what makes you happy, but it's something people say, and that is how you find your why. But what makes you happy can change. Like, give me something different. But yeah, it doesn't sit well with me. So what did I do? Tell me, what did I do? So I obviously had to look into Islam's perspective on living, and I found these to be the 7 things that stuck with me, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And some of them do interlink with society's perspective, which makes sense because Islam is there to make society function at its finest. So yeah, it's beautiful in my opinion. But the thing we have is Iman and Ibadah. And Iman is having belief in God, and in the case of Islam, one God, having belief in the oneness of God. And then Ibadah is doing your obligatory duties. So that's like giving charity, sadaqah, praying 5 times a day, fasting, doing pilgrimage, having that spiritual purpose, Ibadah, doing things for the sake of Allah, right? And then you have number 2, akhlaq, which is basically perfecting one's character, perfecting our character, which is something I feel like morally in society we always try to do. Everyone, hopefully. So that's like being honest, compassionate, having patience, being, having humility. Like, if every functioning member of society was doing this, we'll be up and over there. Like, it'll be beautiful. And there will be no need for like greed, because we're all out to get for each other. Like, we're all here for each other, if that makes sense. We're not out to get each other. And another thing with links with society's perspective is seeking knowledge. Now Muslims see this as a way to get closer to Allah. How? Because they're like, we're learning about this earth, we're learning about God, we're learning about religion, we're learning about technology, we're learning about science, we're learning about math. We're doing all these things for the sake of you, for God. Like, we're doing this for you. And God is like, yeah, okay, you're doing that, I'll reward you, because you're living in a beautiful way. You're out there seeking something, you're finding something. I don't know, it's just, but yeah. Another thing I recently realized is family and social responsibilities are so important in Islam. Like, they are a duty, they are ibadah. You have that should be instilled in you, like respecting your parents, helping the community, so your neighbors, friends, your family, maintaining social relationships and being there for one another is so important. And you hear a lot of people say, like, I do this because it fulfills me, it makes me feel a lot better. Like, I'm out here helping you with your groceries because that made me happy. I bought you this because I thought of you, that it made me happy. Little things like that, like, it just keeps harmonious, like a harmonious society. It makes people feel happy, and it makes you understand others, having a certain emotional intelligence, which is beautiful, alhamdulillah. Another thing that's very important on the way you live is being just and having equity. So you should be standing against any oppression and helping those in struggle, whether that be the poor, the needy, people who don't have parents, people who are in war. Helping, or just simple thing as giving charity to somebody who's in your neighbor, that's going through financial difficult times. Like, being just, standing up for those who need it, helping those who need it, having some kind of social accountability for what's going on in just your community. It doesn't need to be something big, something worldwide, but that's what Islam idea of living is. Another thing which I feel like I couldn't find society's perspective of it, but it was a balanced life. So you should avoid the extremes, whether that be in worshipping, whether that be in daily activities, whether that be in work, leisure, anything. You should avoid extremes. That you should never do too little or too much. You should have a balance and find that harmony in life, be at an equilibrium. But yeah, it's just so weird, because I find that society and Islam perspectives on life really are together. Like, it just makes sense, and that is something from 1400 years ago, and we're still agreeing with it till this day. Yeah. Aimlessly living really contradicts with Islam, but what really confuses me is society and Islam's perspective is very, very similar. And I found that, but the only difference I found is basically in Islam, your intention and purpose and the way you live your life is not just for yourself, but the betterment of others around you and the community around you. Like, it encourages you to be better and do better and improve yourself, but in a way that you make sure that others are inspired to do it. And one reason I see this happening nowadays is, for example, is basically you have a TikTok account and you saying day one of overcoming social anxiety with me, and you go out and speak to a stranger and you're showing, like, I'm overcoming this problem. You can do it too. You're inspiring others to do something, and it's something so beautiful and simple, really, honestly. Whereas society's perspective focuses more on the individualistic approach, sorry. And it's more of a pursuit of one's own happiness. It's, if I'm happy, that's it. I don't care what's going on around me. As long as I'm content, this is it. Like, what do I have to worry about those around me? I need to worry about myself. I've got my own self to worry about. Forget about everyone else. I can't even do this myself, which is understandable. I get that mindset, but it's very limiting and it's very pessimistic, and it's upsetting. Like, it's very upsetting because this is very much the mindset of the Western world that I live in. But it's fine. We get through it. Now, the only thing I think about is basically how do I tackle this problem? How do we tackle this problem of aimlessly living? It's something so easy to do, something so hard to forget and get rid of. And one thing I found that does work is implementing intentional living. So it's basically just implement the ideas that we said before. In essence, pursuing anything at this point, doing anything, but putting your intention behind it, putting your purpose behind it, your why. In this case, for example, let's just say you have, I don't know why I looked up that. In this case, for example, let's say you have basically a driving test that you need to pass, and during this period of getting a driving instructor, you've basically don't show up to your lessons half the time. And when you do turn up, when it comes to listening to instructions and doing maneuvers and taking feedback, you're it's all half done. Like, you just basically are seen as incompetent by your instructor. He feels like he's unable to teach you. You're unteachable, basically. So now we get a kick up our ass and we find out that these lessons are costing too much and we need to do something about it. Like, we either give them up or we carry on. But we know if we carry on, it's going to waste time, it's going to waste money. But if we give them up, we're losing a skill that we definitely will need later on in life, okay? So now we'd say, okay, let's take a step back. Put an intention in place. I intend to pass my driving test in a period of 3 months. You have 3 months. That's all the money you have to pay for your driving test, and you can't afford anything else but then 3 months. So you give yourself a time frame. You're basically putting pressure on yourself. You're putting a why there, and it just makes it so much easier because you're like, I have to do this in 3 months. If I don't do this in 3 months, that's it, I'm done. And people might say this is a limiting belief, but sometimes limiting beliefs, in this case, I would say works, because we're telling ourselves we have a time frame. If we don't do it in this time frame, we're losing our money. Not only losing our money, we're losing a valuable life skill, and we're just letting ourselves down. Like, we intended to do really well, and that, I feel like that's worse, when you intend to do something and you just give up, like, just to live aimlessly again. So now you're practicing steering. Like, we're practicing steering at home, and we do it so fun. We get a plate and we're in a cardboard box with siblings and family and pretend we're steering them around, making sure we're not crossing hands, practicing how our instructor told us. You know, we're getting feedback from an instructor and it hurts our ego, and we're like, ugh. You know, we take a toll, but it's for the better. We're bettering ourselves. We're taking feedback, whether that, you know, feedback is constructive or not constructive, we're taking it in and we're dealing with it, and we're trying to implement what we can do with that feedback. And your instructor is looking at you and he's getting inspired by you. He's like, where does this change come from? So he's like, oh, how about we also record your videos, like when you're doing a maneuver, how you do it and stuff like that. And then he's like, oh, but what else? We'll look at the dash cam and we'll see if you reacted too late or reacted too early. So he's invested with you. You know, you change his mind about you. You're intentionally trying to get this driving test passed, and he's inspired and he's found this ignition and fire to teach again and have this, you know, compassion. And you're both riled up, ready to pass. You're ready for this. And then because you're doing it and you're having these steps that realistic made your goal realistic, you pass. And that's the beauty of intentionally living. And I get that this is a temporary why, like the money was the reason that you had to do this, a finite purpose. And in reality, we need to find something that's we need to find an infinite reason of what we do and why we do it. But just having a push, a reason why, makes everything so much easier. It does. And I whoever disagrees with that, walk out. Purpose. I keep saying we should have this why, or put a reason behind it, make an intention. But our reason does change with time. I feel as humans we are always ever changing and improving ourselves, inshallah, and bettering ourselves. Like, this is what we should be doing. We're trying to get the best version of ourselves in this one life we have. But even though we're changing and our reasons might change why we do things, we should always have a few set beliefs and standards and values that we should have ourselves, that we should always keep and shouldn't budge, because it creates structure, and structure makes things a lot easier. Like, it doesn't need to be rigid, but it's just there. Keep in place, keep you stable, have that stability when you need it, because that what helps. Because in instance for me, my few beliefs or values or standards I have myself is that I should be praying 5 times a day, exercising at least 1 hour, even if it's something as simple as like walking up and down the kitchen, just some kind of exercise. And what I'm practicing at the moment, and it's part of my set beliefs, is it's like I'm calling myself out, but it's basically telling the truth. And even in a situation where that doesn't benefit me, and I'll give you an example, which is basically, for example, if I tell a story and I like to exaggerate it a bit, just say the story how it is. Because what am I doing that for? Who am I trying to improve or impress with that? What benefit am I getting out of it except from telling a lie? And lying is a sin. So I'm trying to reduce that, and sometimes that means me keeping my mouth shut, so I only spoke until spoken to. It means talking less. It means telling the truth. Sometimes it means writing my thoughts down to say them how they are, and that is a bit extreme, but if I gotta do what I gotta do, like, I want to be that person. I want to have the character. I want to be that person that people knows that, yeah, she hardly lies, probably tell a white lie to keep someone happy, but you understand like where I'm trying to come from. Like, just have values, have something put in place, and you're gonna have to find that out for yourself. What triggers you, what makes you tick, what keeps you going, what stabilizes you. Maybe that value is making sure I get family time every week somehow, some way, just something. And to live can be as something as simple as hydrating regularly, taking a walk, reading, just the simple mundane things people find in life. And it doesn't need to be traveling the world or being a millionaire. I mean, if that what makes you happy, if that what makes you feel alive, makes you feel present, do it. That what gives you purpose, do it. But simple things makes it easier. It helps you appreciate life and give gratitude, because living is as simple as being present in a moment where you watch a leaf fall to the ground. That's how simple it is. Nothing else really. It doesn't really, like, nothing. Like, it's okay to feel aimless sometimes. The first step is to be aware of it and move forward, because stagnation is the depletion of your success and betterment of your soul, of your success. And I just think that you don't need to do anything crazy to be living. You just need to be aware that you are living, and you are not chasing after time, and time is chasing after you. Time is running after you, because everything slows down. when you become aware and understanding the importance of not just to be a passerby in this life and to make a mark. And living, for me, I would say I realized is leaving a mark for me on this world is not being famous. It's not, known by everyone. It's have the conversations I've had with people and knowing, hopefully inshallah, that I've left a positive impact on them. Like the communication, the relationships I have with people, the people I spend my time with, the people I meet, a stranger, anyone. I know my mark would be when speaking to someone, inshallah, I've left a positive impact. And that makes me tick. Because I know that in one way or another would reward me. Because the way I live my life is the way I want my death to be. I want it to be something beautiful. I want it to be something simple. I want my akhirah to be, Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah. But it's just, are you living? Really though, like, are you living your life? And it's such a deep, profound question, but it's such a simple answer, and it's so hard to implement, but it's just a case of doing the work. Doing it, sitting down with yourself. And it takes time. It takes a long time to realize the simple things or the crazy things. But just find your purpose. No, honestly, just find your intention. Why am I doing the things I'm doing? And if you can't find a reason behind it, and it's something like doom scrolling or binge watching, then really, you're aimlessly living. So get out of it. I'm trying. We'll do it together. But yeah, that's all I have to say for this podcast. I hope this was resourceful for everyone that watched it and left an impact, inshallah. But yeah, please like and subscribe. I also have this on Spotify in audio form, not video form. Not like it's anything exciting to see anyway. But honestly, please like and subscribe and give it a follow button on and rate it on Spotify, please. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you in the next episode, which hopefully I didn't bore you guys, but yeah, I'll leave it as that. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.